Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Adnan Ayaz, and today we are going to talk about one of the most important novels by Roald Dahl, and the novel is Danny, the Champion of the World. Let's move on. First of all, let's talk about the author. The author, as you can see the picture here, is Roald Dahl, and he is a British author. He was born in September 1916 and he passed away in 1990. Roald Dahl is a children's author. He wrote classic The Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is also a movie, and then Matilda, of course, it is now released again in 2020, in the beginning of 2023, I guess. It's a remake of Matilda, and previously it was released in 1992, 95, something like that. So, and the other novel, which is by him again, it's James and the Giant Peach. Okay, in the earlier career of his life, he was a pilot and he served in the Air Force as a pilot in World War II. He wrote multiple stories for children, and he started writing these stories when he became a father. Okay, not before that. So his code says, as he says from his own, a writer of fiction lives in fear. Each new day demands new ideas, and he can never be sure whether he's going to come up with them or not. So we understand the complexity of writing fiction. We have some of the books picture here: Roald Dahl's Easier Trot, James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then Danny, the Champion of the World that we're discussing today. Then we have this one, Boy Tales of the and then we have the magic finger, and then we have the enormous crocodile, and then fantastic Mr. Fox. And there are some other titles as well. He did not write only for children, but also for adults, and some of the novels that he wrote were fiction and nonfiction as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about the book that we have, Danny, the Champion of the World. It's a novel and a fiction one. It was written in 1975, and it is in first person reflective perspective and from the point of view of the main character. And the main character is that we're going to discuss later on here. So let's talk about the plot first, what the plot is about. So this story is about a boy, Danny, and his father, William. They live in a gypsy caravan. They don't have a house. They live in a caravan, a gypsy caravan. William, father, owns a garage, and they both fix cars there for living. It's a kind of a gas station, and they fix car. Mother, Danny's mother died when he was just 4 years old. He was just four, and his mother passed away. And since then, his father started, raising him and looking after him. Father, after a few years of uh, Daniel's growth, when Daniel grows up a bit, father shares with him that he is a poacher. Okay. And then comes a conflict of the story. William, which is father of Danny, he breaks his leg by falling into a trap laid by Mr. Victor Hazel. And we will know about him too. Danny goes after him and saves his father. And then when Danny rescues his father, they both plan on later to disrupt Mr. Victor Hazel's pheasant shooting party. So there's a shooting party. Mr. Hazel, who's the antagonist of this whole novel, he arranges that party every year. Okay, so they drug all the pheasants with sleeping pills. That's another thing. People from the town come to help them to deliver the pheasants to William. So then in the end scene that we see, the birds are awake, all the pheasants are awake, and they are all flying, here and there, flying away. And that's a little plot of the story. Let's move on to the characters. So first, main character of the story is Danny. He's a 10-year-old boy who's now telling the story. So we know that he's the narrator of the story. Danny has an immense love for his father, William. His father, William, is the one who raised him since his mother passed away, and he's the one who cares after him. He's the one who's doing everything a father could do for a child. So there's a great bonding between son and the father. They both fix cars there. And Danny goes to school. When he returns from school, he fixes cars with his father in his father's garage. He's a kind of adventurous kid. He learned how to fly kites. He learned how to make a small cart, a kind of a car that we learn from the story. And he is an adventurous kid. He loves exploring things, doing new things. And one of the more important factors is he's a risk taker. And we learn it from when Danny goes after his father for rescuing him from the dug up hole by the guards, and he saves his father and brings him back. So we also learn that he learns he in spite of not having a good skills of driving, he drives the car for the first time and brings his father alive back. Okay, then we have William Smith, who's the father of this Mr. Danny, the 10-year-old kid. He's a loving father, a hardworking person, and a poacher. So he loves his father a lot. Danny loves his father a lot. And William, who's a father, he loves Danny a lot. They both care after him. There's great, as I mentioned, there's a great bonding between both the son and the father. So he's a hardworking person. He works in garage from day to night, and he looks after his child. He does everything to protect his own child. It's not only earning, but also a lot of other things. And he's a poacher that we learn in the story that he's also a poacher. He had been poaching. His grandfather has been poaching. His father had been poaching. So there was this poaching chain. All of them were poachers, and which is later revealed to Danny in the few early pages of the early chapters of the story. So he's also a poacher. A poacher is one who illegally hunts animals, birds, or something like that. So next we have Victor Hazel. He's the antagonist as William, what do you call that, a villain of the story. So he's wealthy and he's rich beyond measures. Everything around Mr. Williams' gas station or the garage is owned by Mr. Hazel. So he owns all the fields around that in that town, almost all the fields, not all of them, but almost all of them. He's a cruel guy that we learn from, and why we call him cruel because he keeps pheasants for annual shooting parties. So every year he organizes a shooting party and gets all the wealthy people from all around the suburbs and all around the area come join their party, and they then have this pheasant shooting party. They shoot the pheasants for their mere enjoyment. So that's why he's known as a cruel person. He's kind of ill-mannered and a cruel type of, as a villain should be or could be. So he's the Mr. Hazel, the antagonist of this novel. Then we have Dr. Spencer. He's an old man that wears a shaggy hat and dull brown clothes. He has gray hair and blue eyes. He's a friend of Mr. William, Danny's father, actually. Dr. Spencer, as known by the name, is the one who helps Danny's father when he gets injured or sick. So every time Danny's father is ill, Dr. Spencer treats him, cures him. And he also helped him out when Danny's father got trapped and got severely injured. So Dr. Spencer, he was the one who fixed him up, who patched him, and who cured him up. Otherwise, he's a happy man. Okay, so this Dr. Spencer is a happy man. He likes to fix people's problems and help them to get better in feeling well again. So he's a doctor. This is what he does. We have a kind of nature is he dislikes people who have negative thoughts about other people or negative words. He also dislikes being unhappy. So he loves being happy. That's what we know. He doesn't have a great role in this whole chapter, this novel rather. We know that he's a friend of Danny's father, and he's a doctor. He loves being happy, and he loves to help his friend, Mr. William. Okay, and then we have Mrs. Clipstone. Mrs. Clipson has brown hair and green eyes. She wears dull green top and pants. She's a fat kind of lady. Mrs. Clipson is a mother of the two children who cares for her children, and she's a happy and a joyful woman. She likes caring for her children, and she dislikes seeing her children sad and crying, which every mother does. So the greater part, the part Mrs. Clipson plays here in the story is that she is the one who delivers pheasants to Mr. William when everything is clear, when the coast is clear. So basically, when the pheasants are hunted by Mr. William or anybody else, she keeps them for a day or two or three, and then she delivers them back to the owner. This is what happens at the end of the story when she's bringing all of those pheasants which were caught by Mr. William and Danny. When she's trying to return them, all the pheasants are awake and they start, they fly away, they're flying away. We see that scene in the end of the novel, and almost every pheasant is flying away and making a cloud of pheasants there. So she plays that delivery part. She's a delivery lady. Then we have this another character here, Mr. Rabbit. Mr. Rabbit has a brown hair and brown eyes. He wears a brown coat and gray pants. Let me tell you, he is a guard in Mr. Victor Hazel's farm. Okay, he works there at Mr. Hazel's, who's the antagonist of the story. He works there as a guard, and he's in charge. What you can say, I don't have the right word for this. So he's the guard, actually, the in charge guard, or you call them. Yeah, the word doesn't really come in my mind right now. Mr. Rabbit is an old and cranky man who works and takes care of pheasants at Mr. Victor Hazel's farm. He likes to shoot anyone or anything who tries to harm the pheasant. So he's like that kind of a dog who's always, ready to bite you. So he's the one who has this gun with him. And he's ready to shoot anybody who tries to, hunt animals or pheasants. So he detests individuals who attempt causing harm to the pheasants or his dog. So he loves his dog and he loves his jobs, and this is what he does all the time. And this is what his role is in the story. And then that's the last of those things. One of the few themes here we have in this novel. One of them is risk taking, that we learn from the story, that his father is a risk taker, and like son, like father. So we learn about Danny that when his father is injured, he goes after him, he drives there, he saves his father, brings him back on his car, and then he delivers him to his own house, which is actually a caravan, a gypsy caravan. And then he calls Dr. Spencer, who treats him and cures him properly. And so both of these characters are risk takers. Then we have father-son relationship. We understand that in the beginning of the novel, earlier chapters are most of the time they are talking about the relationship between the father and the son, how the father feeds him, how he treats him, how he sends him to school, how he protects him or shields him from any kind of threats, whether in the form of Mr. Hazel, who once tried to shout at Danny, and his father comes in and he says, "Never, don't you dare do it again to my son," and something like that. And then again, when he was at school, when Danny was threatened, so his father was again there to protect him. We also see the sense of adventure in the story, that both of these people are adventurers. So that's all. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.